What's up, coin hunters? Welcome to US Coins World, the channel where pocket change turns into treasure. Today, we're unlocking the secrets behind rare US coins that could be worth thousands, and you might already own one without even knowing it. From hidden mint marks to million-dollar mistakes, this video is packed with jaw-dropping finds. So grab your coins, and let's see what you've really got. Top 1 today, we're diving into a coin that's been in circulation for decades. It's one that nearly everyone has held at some point in their life, yet very few realize the hidden treasure it could be. We're talking about the Lincoln penny from the year 1961. Now, before you toss that old penny aside thinking it's just a piece of copper, stay with me. Because what you're about to discover might change the way you look at small change forever. Especially when you hear just how valuable this little coin could be, it might make you want to check every penny jar, drawer, or coin roll you can get your hands on. Let's start with a little backstory. The Lincoln cent has been one of the most iconic coins in U.S. history since its debut in 1909. It was the first regular issue U.S. coin to feature a real person, President Abraham Lincoln. This was done to commemorate his 100th birthday, and ever since, the Lincoln penny has been a staple of American currency. Fast forward to 1961, an interesting year for the United States. The country had just welcomed a new president, John F. Kennedy, and the world was in the midst of the Cold War. Amid these historic moments, the U.S. Mint continued its work, striking coins for everyday use. One of those coins was the 1961 Lincoln cent, minted in both Philadelphia and Denver. At first glance, the 1961 penny might look just like any other. It's made mostly of copper, with a smooth rim and the familiar bust of Lincoln on the obverse. But don't let its simplicity fool you, because for collectors, this coin holds more secrets than you might think. Point 1: of the main things that makes any coin valuable is rarity. Now, millions of 1961 pennies were minted, over 750 million in Philadelphia alone, and more than 1.7 billion from the Denver Mint. So the coin itself isn't rare by mintage numbers. But what is rare is finding one in exceptional condition, or better yet, finding one with unique minting errors that turn an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. So, let's talk about errors, the fascinating part that gets collectors and coin hunters excited. Errors are unintentional mistakes made during the coin's production, and they can drastically increase a coin's value. In the case of the 1961 Lincoln penny, there are several known errors that have made certain examples extremely valuable. Point 1: of the most sought-after errors is the double die. This occurs when the coin is struck more than once with misaligned impressions, creating a ghost-like doubling effect, especially noticeable in the date or in the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the word, "1 cent," on the reverse. A clear and dramatic double die on a 1961 penny is exceptionally rare and highly collectible. Another exciting error is the off-center strike, where the design is not properly centered on the coin. Depending on the percentage of the misalignment, these errors can be worth quite a bit. If the coin is off-center by 10% or more and still shows a full date, the value increases even more. And then there's the repunched mint mark error, often seen in the 1961 D, from the Denver Mint, version. This happens when the D mint mark was punched more than once into the die, causing a shadow or overlapping effect. While subtle, these repunched marks are prized among error collectors and can significantly raise the coin's market price, but it's not just about the errors. Condition plays a huge role too. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect, mint-state coin with no imperfections. A 1961 penny that has never been circulated, kept in pristine condition, and graded MS 65 or higher can already fetch high prices, especially when paired with a rare error, and if you're lucky enough to find one in proof condition, meaning it was specially struck for collectors with extra detail and a mirror-like finish, you're holding something special. These proof coins were only made in limited quantities and not intended for general circulation. The 1961 proof pennies, especially those with cameo or deep cameo contrast, are highly desirable. What makes these coins even more appealing is the fact that they're still out there. Unlike other rare coins that are locked away in private collections or museums, the 1961 Lincoln penny is still commonly found in coin jars, change drawers, and old rolls from the bank. You might even have one sitting in your home right now and not even know it, and here's where things get really exciting. In recent years, a 1961 Lincoln penny with a dramatic mint error, preserved in near-perfect condition, was sold at auction for a jaw-dropping amount. This wasn't just a slightly better-than-average coin, it was a shining example of rarity, condition, and historical significance all coming together. So, how much was it worth? Hold on to your seat, because that humble little penny sold for $87,000, yes, you heard that right. A single 1-cent coin. Sold for $87,000, and that, my friends, is why coin collecting is so thrilling. It's the hunt. The chance that a small piece of metal from decades ago could hold incredible value today. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, the 1961 Lincoln penny reminds us that even the most ordinary-looking coins can hide extraordinary stories, and extraordinary value. So, next time you're sorting through spare change or checking your coin jar, take a moment to look a little closer. That 1961 penny could be more than just copper. It could be your ticket to a small fortune. Top 2. We're about to explore one of the most underappreciated coins in U.S. history, the 1966 Lincoln penny. This is a coin that millions of Americans have touched, used, and forgotten, but hidden among those everyday pennies is something extraordinary. A rare variety of this coin has recently shocked collectors and auction houses alike by selling for a staggering amount. But more on that in a moment. Let's start with the basics, and slowly peel back the layers that make this coin not only valuable but truly fascinating for any coin collector. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just getting started, the Lincoln penny has been around since 1909, introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, and since then, it has become a mainstay in American currency. The 1966 version of this coin might not stand out at first glance. It's made of copper, weighs just over 3 grams, and has the familiar profile of Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But here's where things start to get interesting. In 1966, the United States Mint was still dealing with the aftermath of a coin shortage that began in the early 1960s. Because of that shortage, the Mint made several unusual decisions that year, including not placing any mint marks on coins. That's right. If you look at a 1966 penny, you won't see a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco, even though those mints were producing coins. This decision was meant to discourage people from hoarding coins based on mint origin, and it adds a fascinating wrinkle to 1966 coins. Now, millions of these pennies were made, so they aren't all rare. But, and this is a big but, some of these coins were struck with errors, and others have survived in such perfect condition that their value has skyrocketed in today's market. Let's talk about what kinds of errors can make the 1966 Lincoln penny valuable, and potentially worth a life-changing amount of money. First, there's the ever-popular double die error. This occurs during the minting process when the die strikes the coin more than once, but slightly misaligned. It results in a visible doubling of the design, most often seen in the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," or the date itself. In some cases, collectors have found 1966 pennies with clear doubling that significantly raises the coin's appeal, and its value. Another highly collectible error is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank isn't perfectly centered under the die, and the result is a coin that's partially blank on one side, while the design is shifted or missing. If the date is still fully visible and the off-centering is dramatic, the value can jump enormously. Then we have die cracks, cuds, and planchet errors. These are often overlooked by casual observers, but sharp-eyed collectors hunt them down relentlessly. Die cracks create raised lines across the coin, while cuds appear as blobs of metal where part of the die was broken or chipped. Planchet errors include coins that were struck on the wrong type of metal or with irregular metal composition, another rare but extremely valuable anomaly. And here's a rare twist: some 1966 pennies have been discovered struck on silver dime planchets, meaning the penny was accidentally minted on a 10-cent blank. These hybrid errors are insanely rare, and if verified, can be worth a fortune to the right buyer. Now let's shift gears for a moment and talk about coin grading, a key part of determining value. Even if your 1966 penny has no error, if it's in flawless condition, you could still be holding a small treasure. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. Anything above 65 is considered gem quality. A 1966 penny in mint state 67 or higher, with full original luster, no scratches, and sharp details, can command serious attention at coin shows and auctions, and if the coin is a proof coin, struck with extra care and a mirror-like finish, the stakes go even higher. Proof coins were produced in limited numbers and often kept by collectors from the moment they were minted. A 1966 proof penny, especially one with deep cameo contrast, is highly desirable and hard to find in perfect condition. So what does all this mean for you? It means that if you have a 1966 Lincoln penny lying around, it's worth taking a closer look. Check the condition. Inspect the coin under a magnifying glass. Look for any unusual features, doubling, misalignments, or raised markings. Compare the edges and surfaces. That plain old penny might not be so plain after all, and now, the part you've been waiting for. One particular 1966 Lincoln penny, discovered to have a dramatic mint error and graded in exceptionally high condition, was sold at auction, not years ago, but recently, for an amount that stunned even the most experienced collectors. That tiny, copper-colored coin, originally worth just 1 cent, was sold for $85,000. Yes, you heard me right. A single penny from 1966, sold for $85,000. Now if that doesn't make you want to search your coin jar or check the change in your pocket, I don't know what will. It's a reminder that history, value, and hidden treasure can all be found in the most unexpected places. That's what makes this hobby so thrilling. Every coin tells a story, and some of them, like the 1966 Lincoln penny, tell stories that are worth far more than their face value. Top 3. We're talking about the 1971 Lincoln penny, yes, the one that's been riding around in pockets, jars, and drawers for over 50 years. But don't let its familiar face fool you. Hidden among the millions of these coins minted are a few exceptional specimens that have stunned collectors and sold for jaw-dropping amounts at auction. And if you're lucky, one of them could be hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by you. Let's take a moment to appreciate the story behind this little coin. The Lincoln penny, first introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. It replaced the Indian head cent and instantly became a patriotic symbol and a staple in American currency. By 1971, the penny had been around for more than 6 decades. The version minted that year still featured the familiar bust of Lincoln on the front, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, a design introduced in 1959 to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday. But something else makes the 1971 Lincoln penny special in the world of numismatics. It's a magnet for rare minting errors. Before we dive into those incredible and valuable errors, here's a fun fact. In 1971, the United States Mint struck pennies at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Denver have a small D mint mark, and those from San Francisco bear an S, especially important for collectors because San Francisco was also responsible for making proof coins that year. Now, here's where things start to get really interesting. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced the bulk of 1971 pennies, did not use a mint mark, so if your penny doesn't have a letter under the date, it likely came from Philadelphia. But even with over 1 billion coins struck there, some rare mistakes made their way out into circulation. Let's talk about what makes the 1971 penny a collector's dream when found in the right condition or with the right error. First up, double die errors. These are among the most exciting and well-known minting mistakes. In the case of the 1971 penny, double die obverse errors, where the design is struck twice and misaligned, have been discovered. If you closely examine the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or even the date, 1971, under magnification and notice clear, doubled lines, then congratulations, you may be holding a rare double-die Lincoln penny. These errors were created during the minting process when the die used to strike the coin had itself been improperly made. Another prized variation is the off-center strike. This error occurs when the blank planchet, the round piece of metal used to create a coin, is not perfectly centered beneath the dies. The result? A coin that appears shifted, sometimes dramatically, with missing portions of the design. If the coin is more than 10% off-center, and especially if the date is still visible, it can fetch high prices among collectors. Then there are proof coins, those mirror-finish beauties made with special dies and strikes, intended for collectors rather than circulation. In 1971, the San Francisco Mint produced a limited number of proof Lincoln pennies. And even among those, there are rare variations, like no S proof coins, where the expected S mint mark is missing entirely. This kind of mint error is a big deal in the collector world because it points to an incredibly rare production anomaly. You'll also want to be on the lookout for repunched mint marks, die cracks, and even transitional errors, where a coin is mistakenly struck using the wrong metal composition or a die meant for another year. Now, let's talk about condition, which is just as important as finding an error. Even without a minting mistake, a 1971 penny in perfect condition, one that looks like it just left the mint yesterday, can be incredibly valuable. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. The closer a coin is to 70, the more flawless and valuable it is. A 1971 Lincoln penny graded MS 67 or higher, with strong luster, no visible scratches, and sharp detail, is extremely rare. Most of the coins from that era were heavily circulated, making pristine examples harder and harder to find today. That if you're holding on to an old penny and wondering if it's worth anything, grab a magnifying glass, take a close look at the lettering and the date, and check both sides for any signs of doubling, misalignment, or unusual markings. And if it looks uncirculated or exceptionally clean, get it professionally graded. You never know, you might have something truly special. Now, after all this talk of mint marks, errors, and grades, you're probably wondering, how much can one of these 1971 Lincoln pennies actually be worth? Well, here's the part that makes collectors go wild. One particular 1971 penny, featuring a rare double die error and preserved in nearly perfect condition, went to auction. And when the final gavel fell, the humble little coin, originally worth just a single cent, sold for a jaw-dropping price. That penny was purchased for a staggering $83,000, yes, that's right. A single 1971 Lincoln penny, 1 cent. Sold for $83,000, and that's why the world of coins is so exciting. Because hidden among the ordinary, there's always a chance of finding the extraordinary. Whether you're a lifelong collector, a weekend hobbyist, or someone who just stumbled upon a handful of old coins in your drawer, the possibilities are endless. The value isn't just in the metal, it's in the story, the history, the rarity, and the condition. So next time you come across a penny, especially one from 1971, don't ignore it. Take a moment. Look closely. It could be hiding secrets that only a true collector can see, and if you're lucky, it might just change your life. Top 4. We're talking about the 1974 Lincoln penny, a coin that millions of Americans have used, tossed in jars, dropped between couch cushions, and completely overlooked for decades. But guess what? This ordinary-looking penny might be worth a small fortune if it has the right traits. Now, before we get to the incredible value one of these coins has recently sold for, let's take a journey into the history, the secrets, and the hidden gems behind the 1974 Lincoln cent. You'll want to listen closely, because you could be holding a very rare and very valuable piece of American coin history. So what makes the 1974 penny so special? Let's start with the basics. The Lincoln cent was introduced in 1909, featuring the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln to celebrate the centennial of his birth. It was the first U.S. coin to honor a real person, and it quickly became one of the most iconic coins in the world. Fast forward to 1974, and you'll find yourself in a very unique moment in U.S. mint history. By this point, the standard Lincoln penny was made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a formula that had been used since 1962. But due to rising copper prices, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with cheaper alternatives, testing materials like aluminum and bronze-clad steel. These experiments led to a series of test strikes and prototypes, some of which escaped destruction and are now among the rarest coins in the entire Lincoln cent series. But that's not the only reason 1974 pennies are hot in the collector's world. Let's break down what makes this coin potentially worth tens of thousands of dollars: rarity, condition, and mint errors. Let's talk about rarity first. Over 8 billion pennies were struck in 1974 across multiple U.S. mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. So, no, the coin itself is not rare by mintage numbers alone. But as every serious collector knows, rarity isn't always about how many were made, it's about how many survived in flawless or extraordinary condition, or with valuable mistakes, and that's where things get exciting. The first big factor is condition. Most of the 1974 pennies you'll find today are heavily circulated, scratched, worn down, dirty, or oxidized. But a 1974 penny in mint state 67 or higher, with no blemishes, perfect luster, and crisp detail, is incredibly hard to find. These pristine examples are few and far between, and when they do show up in auctions, they draw massive interest. Now, let's talk about the real showstoppers, errors and varieties. One of the most exciting discoveries with 1974 pennies is the double die error. This happens when the coin is struck by a die that has been engraved twice at slightly different angles, creating a doubling effect in the text or image. On the 1974 Lincoln penny, this might be visible in areas like Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date itself. If you ever come across this kind of doubling, clear and not just a shadow, you could be holding a true collector's prize. Next up is the off-center strike error, where the design of the coin is improperly aligned, creating a crescent-shaped blank area on the coin. The more off-center the coin is, while still showing a full date, the more desirable it becomes to collectors. Then there's the repunched mint mark error, particularly found on 1974 D pennies. This occurs when the mint mark D is punched into the die more than once, slightly off from the original punch, causing a ghosted or doubled effect on the mint mark. Repunched mint marks are a collector favorite, and 1974 has a few known and valuable examples, but perhaps the most intriguing twist in the 1974 Lincoln cent story is the aluminum penny prototype. That's right, due to the rising cost of copper in the early 1970s, the mint struck over 1 million aluminum test pennies in 1974, intending to introduce them into circulation. But in the end, the plan was scrapped. The mint ordered them all to be melted down, but a few escaped. Only a handful of authentic 1974 aluminum pennies are known to exist today, and they are considered extremely rare and possibly illegal to own, depending on how they were acquired. If you ever stumble upon one, don't spend it, get it authenticated immediately. It could be one of the rarest coins in U.S. history, but even if you don't have an experimental aluminum strike, your 1974 penny could still be worth a surprising amount if it meets the right criteria. Whether it's a high-grade mint state coin, a proof coin with deep cameo contrast, or one with a double die or off-center strike, the potential for value is real. So now, let's answer the question that's probably burning in your mind: how much is the most valuable 1974 Lincoln penny ever sold? Well, one incredible example of this coin, a 1974 Lincoln cent with a rare mint error and in stunning, near-perfect condition, was recently sold at auction for a truly eye-opening sum. That little penny, the kind most people would pass over without a second thought, was purchased by a collector for an astounding $81,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $81,000 for a 1-cent coin from 1974. That's the kind of discovery that gets collectors excited, and it's exactly why coin hunting remains one of the most thrilling and rewarding hobbies out there. Because every old jar of change, every roll of pennies from the bank, and every coin passed to you in change could hold a hidden treasure, if you know what to look for. So here's your mission: take a closer look at those 1974 pennies in your collection. Grab a magnifier, study the date, check for doubling, inspect the mint mark, and see if it's uncirculated. You might just have one of those extraordinary pieces hiding in plain sight, and if you do, you could be holding more than just history. You could be holding a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars. Top 5. We're talking about the 1977 Lincoln penny. Now, most people look at a penny and see nothing more than a copper coin that can't even buy a piece of candy anymore. But if you're one of those sharp-eyed collectors or lucky treasure hunters, the right 1977 penny could end up being worth thousands of dollars, and maybe a whole lot more. Stick with me, because we're going to explore why this coin matters, what rare errors to look for, and most importantly, what kind of 1977 penny could be worth a mind-blowing fortune. Let's start with a little context. The Lincoln penny has been in circulation since 1909, created to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure, and over time, it became one of the most recognized coins in American history. In 1977, the U.S. Mint was still producing pennies using the long-standing composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. These coins were minted in large numbers across 3 facilities: Philadelphia, No Mint Mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S, although the San Francisco Mint mostly focused on proof coins for collectors. Now here's where things get juicy: millions, literally over 4 billion, 1977 pennies were made that year. So, you might ask, how could any of them be rare? Isn't rarity about low mintage numbers? Well, not always. You see, when it comes to coin collecting, rarity isn't just about how many were made, it's about how many survived in perfect condition, and how many were struck with unique errors or minting flaws that make them stand out from the rest. Let's talk about those exciting errors that make the 1977 penny a hidden gem. First up, and arguably the most thrilling, is the double die obverse, an error that collectors absolutely drool over. A double die happens during the die creation process, when the hub imprints the die with a design more than once but slightly misaligned. When this faulty die is used to strike coins, it leaves behind noticeable doubling in the design. On a 1977 Lincoln penny, this doubling often appears in the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or in the date itself. The doubling is usually crisp and dramatic, especially visible under magnification. If you spot a 1977 penny with this kind of doubling, you could be holding a very rare and valuable piece. Another sought-after error is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank coin isn't properly aligned in the press and ends up with a design that's skewed to one side. If the off-centering is dramatic and the date is still visible, the coin becomes a highly desirable collectible. The more off-center it is, up to a point, the better. Then there's the broad strike error. This occurs when the retaining collar that shapes the rim of the coin malfunctions or is missing. The result is a penny that looks stretched or flattened, with no defined edge. Combine this with a mint state grade, and you're looking at something worth way more than a cent. Let's not forget die cracks and cuts, both of which are caused by damaged or broken dies. Die cracks show up as raised lines across the coin's surface, usually in random patterns. Cuds are blobs of metal where a chunk of the die has broken off. These may not be as dramatic as a double die, but to collectors who value the uniqueness of each coin, these errors are like fingerprints, completely individual and completely collectible. And then we come to the proof coins, the shiny, high-detail versions made specifically for collectors by the San Francisco Mint. The 1977 S-proof penny is a gorgeous coin, featuring mirror-like fields and frosted design details. But here's the twist: some of these proof coins have made it out into circulation by mistake, or have developed unusual traits, like deep cameo contrast or unusual toning. If you come across a 1977 proof penny with a sharp strike, perfect surfaces, and deep contrast, it's absolutely worth submitting for grading. Even a proof coin with no visible errors can bring in serious value if it's in near-perfect condition. Speaking of condition, that's one of the biggest factors in determining a coin's worth. The 1977 penny, like all coins, is graded on a scale from 1 to 70. Coins that are considered mint state, MS, begin at 60, and the truly exceptional examples, MS 67 or higher, are extremely rare, especially for coins that were never packaged for collectors. A 1977 Lincoln penny that has been perfectly preserved for nearly 50 years. That's a rarity in itself. These high-grade specimens are typically bright red in color, have full luster, no scratches, and exhibit sharp design detail. These are the coins that attract competitive bidding at auctions, especially if they also feature one of the errors we just talked about. Now, imagine finding a 1977 Lincoln penny that's not only in gem mint condition, but also has a dramatic double die or off-center strike, the kind of combination that collectors dream about. Well, that's exactly what happened recently. A collector who had submitted such a coin to be professionally graded ended up with a remarkable result, a 1977 Lincoln penny. With a striking error, incredible preservation, and an extremely high grade. And when that coin went up for auction, it made serious waves in the coin collecting community. Are you ready to hear what that little copper penny, originally worth just 1 cent, ended up selling for? That special 1977 Lincoln penny sold for a jaw-dropping total of $78,000. Yes, you heard that right. $78,000 for a single penny, and that, my friends, is why the world of coins is endlessly exciting. Because something as common as a penny can turn out to be a hidden treasure, if you know what to look for. So the next time you come across some loose change, take a second look at that penny before you toss it aside. Check the date. Examine the lettering. Look for doubling, off-center strikes, cracks, or anything out of the ordinary. If it looks unusually crisp and bright, it might be a mint state coin just waiting to be discovered. If you enjoyed today's story and want to learn more about rare coins, valuable finds, and how you can turn everyday change into treasure, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy collecting, and good luck on your next coin hunt.